and really offering some amazing tips that you're going to love today.
Yes. So good morning again. I'm Jackie Chavis of Colander Chavis Consulting, and very pleased to have you with us. And joining us, my co-host partner here is Dr. Kimberly Gray. Kim, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ms. Chavis. Ms. Chavis and I absolutely love working together, from Colander Chavis to Gray Education Services, and just really enjoy the opportunity to help support the amazing people that work with our students every day. Having been retired from a public school system, I know the strains and stresses you all are under, and having these opportunities is just another way to continue to help you build your toolbox. So thank you all so much for your time today.
Yes. And so, it's interesting you mentioned that because it was almost 1 year ago, last year, March, when we all entered this phase of this pandemic and we had to pivot and do life differently. Our work life, our personal lives, we had to kind of pivot and make things work under different circumstances. For all of us, circumstances we've never experienced before. And so it reminded me about a series that we ran back in March, April, called Leading During COVID-19, Voices from the Field. And when we did that, we actually thought that that would be over in a few months. But here we are survivors, each and every one of us on this screen today. We've made it. We need to do what we have to for the sake of students and the families that we serve. In each of those webinars, we talked about the challenges of leading during COVID-19. There were things that we've learned over that time, and we understand them much better today than we did a year ago. Navigating this pandemic during racial, social, and political unrest takes an extraordinary effort of creativity as well as compassion. Interesting enough, I also noted in the previous webinars that no one person can sustain such efforts as successfully alone as we can together. And so in addition to changes in the way we deliver academics and incorporate procedures to help mitigate this pandemic in our schools, we have to remember to keep everyone safe and engaged. And that means our parents, who are our most precious community partners in this work. So we'll learn today, we'll hear from 4 visionaries, resilient and wonderful school leaders and central office leaders about how they are doing just that, engaging families, and that engagement looks differently. And so for our participants today, we challenge you to think about family engagement. What does it really look like? What does it mean for you in your particular setting? Today, we have Ms. Robin Riddick, who's the founder of Pipes and a school counselor at Chesapeake Public Schools. Mrs. Camisha Davis is our elementary principal at Greenwood Elementary in Newport News, Virginia. Mr. Patrick Doyle is a middle school principal, and we know the challenges at the secondary level of keeping families engaged. He's in Norfolk, Virginia at Blair Middle School. And then our final presenter this morning, Mrs. Tonya Evans, is a parent engagement specialist, Title I, in Virginia Beach, and she works with our pre-K babies and their families. And so each of these leaders have a very unique perspective about engaging families in their workspace and making sure that we're meeting the needs of our students academically. We're helping parents meet the physical, emotional, and social needs as well. And you'll hear about that today. So thanks everyone for attending. We're going to continue to ask, for the sake of everybody having a quality experience, if you would stay off camera and mute yourselves. That helps us to make sure that we're spreading the bandwidth for everybody to be able to enjoy. So again, thank you for joining us. And we're going to bring on our first presenter, Ms. Robin Riddick. Robin, thank you for joining us. And while she's getting set up, say hi. Robin, again, is the founder of Pipes, and she has an extensive background with really engaging families in her role. So I'm going to have Robin to introduce herself to us, and then you have a unique way that you look at engagement, working with families. So we're going to ask you to share that. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Chavis. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Again, my name is Robin Riddick. I am a school counselor here in the city of Chesapeake. However, I became a counselor in the wonderful city of Suffolk, Virginia. I've also gotten the opportunity to live abroad and work in the UAE. So that gave me an awesome experience to see what counseling skills I could gain and use there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and begin to share my screen. Okay. So PIPES. PIPES is a program that I actually started back in 2011 with Dr. Atia Nathans. I was able to meet her at in the wonderful city of Suffolk with in two buildings. I was in Florence Bowser under Cheryl Riddick and at MacBen under Miss Melody Griffin. And they were excellent principals. They allowed us to work together and we collaborated with other educators. And one of the things that we started to see when we were having parent meetings, talking to teachers, Dr. Tia is a social worker. So in our conversations with other educators and workers, we were seeing that parents, of course, wanted the best for their students, but they, struggled maybe knowing how to go about different things. So, when we began to talk, we started, discussing amongst ourselves, how can we, help them? What are some things that we can do to help parents to be more engaged, to be more involved in their child's education? So we began to survey them. Again, those wonderful principals, Ms. Riddick and Ms. Griffith, Mr. Hubbard, they allowed us to, when they had parent nights, we would present or we would have a table where we could, just get surveys, get them to fill out our surveys for us. We were able to have one night where we partnered with Olive Garden and they provided over 100 dinners. So it was not just for parents, we also had community partnerships working with that. And as we continued to grow, we learned so much about how parents saw the school system, and some of it wasn't necessarily the way we wanted them to see it. So we felt it was our charge to take on that task to help change that. So as we began working, we understood that first of all, trust and building rapport with your parents is so crucial. I know you all know that. Having a supportive environment, of course, we must keep our children safe in the schools, but making schools also a place where parents feel comfortable and want to come and be engaged and active in their children's education. I want to also make you think today about how we see parent engagement. So one of the things that I would like to specifically address is PTAs. A lot of times we think of the old school way to think of PTAs is to think of it as a place to raise money and to fund different programs for schools. But I think it should also be a parent coalition where parents are able to feel that they can gain support as well. So that's another way to think about building rapport with your parents. I want you to watch this tiny clip. It really shows how people define family engagement. And there's no wrong or right answer to this. It just depends on how you see it for your school.
Miss Riddick, can you share the sound, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop sharing. Maybe it's not. There we go.
In leadership on parent and family engagement. There's a lot.
Can you hear that now?
How would you define family engagement for someone who is new to the topic?
I would define it as all of the things that families do to support their children's success, both in relation to school and in relation to society.
I think of family engagement as a public good. I think of it as a shared responsibility.
Fundamentally, I see engagement as a process of you and me sitting down and talking with each other about your child who's in my classroom with whom I'm working and telling me what I need to know to be the best teacher I can be.
I think family engagement is really about building a relationship and a collaborative experience around supporting that child.
Family engagement is really how you enjoin families in being part of the solution for their students first and then their schools second.
Family engagement is about engaging in the life of your child in school, but also in changing our system so that your child and all children have a chance for, really a high quality education.
One can choose to set the boundaries someplace between family and the rest of the world, but it all matters.
Parents have agency. It's not we're doing to, it's we're doing with.
Engagement is a two-way street. It means letting families know not only about what's happening, but what some of the challenges are, and relying on them for real solutions.
It's work where parents, caregivers, and teachers see themselves in many ways as equals.
So,
Cohorts. I define
sorry.
family engagement.
So when
How
I
would
was
you
looking
define
at
family engagement?
family engagement, I did a lot of research of schools all over the United States. Um, in Detroit, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Memphis, Tennessee, and just all over. And one of the things that I was starting to see was that they were consistently talking to parents, finding out what they needed. And the biggest thing that I saw was parent cafes. I was intrigued and I started to search and see how they were using parent cafes all over the country. So some of the things that they would do is if you had parents that were, struggling with sending their kids to school, you don't want to send them to truancy court, but no matter how many times you're warning them, you're talking to them, giving them tips, it's just not improving. They begin to use parent cafes for that. Also, juggling responsibilities. They use it for grandparents and foster parents, especially now during the COVID times. We see that a lot of parents can't be home with their children. So grandparents are taking up the charge to help their students on computers. And this isn't easy for them. So having a cafe where they could come and talk to amongst other grandparents that are going through the same thing and understanding, okay, this is what I need to do, or this is where I can gain some insight or help, or this is the number I can call if I'm struggling with my grandchild for various reasons. Again, foster parents, adoptive parents, parents who are English language learners who may not understand this, things are lost in translation, or, maybe they struggle to read or have literacy issues. So when we see these parent cafes, it's a wonderful place where you can create themes. Let's just say if you have a lot of parents who are ELL, or you have parents who are truant, you can create these little cafes that specifically address them. And it's a place where they can feel calm and comfortable to share whatever concerns they have, because everyone in the room is dealing with the same thing. Now, one of the things with parent cafes is it's led by parents. You may, when you're starting them, may have to direct and help, but the overall premise of a parent cafe is that the parents take charge, that they lead, and it becomes their space, safe place to address concerns and as well as to share that with the school. So I'm going to show this quick clip about what it's like to attend a parent cafe.
There's so many things that, people go through that I thought really like, oh, I'm the only one. And I always felt like I was a bad parent.
When you share and learn other ways of coping, it makes life a lot easier.
So that gives you just a little bit insight of how the parents felt, being able to have this place designated in the school.
There's so many things that, people go through.
Again, trainings and workshops are a wonderful way to keep parents engaged. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I know when I was a parent, everyone's been through this where their child may have told them, that's not how my teacher does it, or I don't know how you're teaching me, but Mrs. So-and-so taught me how to do it this way. And I think that parents would love to have the opportunity to attend workshops, whether it be webinars or maybe even if it's not live, it's something that's video that is put on Facebook or put on YouTube where they can gain skills in the privacy of their own home, in the comfort of their own time, but still be able to gain this information that they need to be able to assist their child. So there's various ways that you can use trainings and workshops. And I know wonderful schools in this area are already doing that. But again, it's important to talk with parents and make sure that we're giving them the workshops and the trainings that they need, that they want. Another thing that I was passionate about and I saw that was working all over, and I actually had the opportunity to take part in this over in the UAE, is building or having a parent resource room. I was so excited about this because we had parents who wanted to come into the building and learn how to use different computer programs like RAS Kids and different things like that. And they were asked to do it with their child at home, and they weren't sure how to go about that. So having this resource room with a few computers where they can go in, you can show them how to get online, how to get on maybe Canvas or get on different websites, ManageBack, eSchool, Power School, and how to navigate those things. I think that sometimes we take for granted that all our parents are able to navigate those systems. So if you were to have a place like this, you can use this for so many different things, not just showing them different things on the computer. Maybe you might have a teacher come and share, here's what we're working on for SOL night, or this is what the fourth graders need to be working on for math. One of the things that was a concern when we first started thinking about having a parent resource room was who was going to man it? Who's going to be there? The teachers have schedules, administrators have, lots of things going on. So, and every building doesn't have a parent liaison. So we started to look at that. And we had parent volunteers. They, could only give us one day a month. And we were able to start off with it, and this is before COVID, so it's not that way anymore. But at that time, we were able to open up the doors to the parent resource room twice a month. At that time, we were starting small. We wanted to hopefully get it to much more than that, but sometimes you have to take baby steps. So that was something that we were very excited about, that parents took on that charge. Maybe if you are not able to do that, you might want to think about having a community partner volunteer and make that a part of your agreement with them. Some other options are on-site resources. I know some schools are already doing this, dental trucks, backpack programs. If you don't know, the food bank is always looking for partnerships to bring food to students, especially students who are, in areas where food is a shortage for them, and they provide weekend backpacks so that the students are getting a healthy meal throughout the weekend when they're not in school. Using technology. Most schools are doing this. You'll see this with Dr. Doyle later on. He's really a pro at this. But I just want to make sure that you diversify your social media, knowing that everyone is not on Facebook, everyone is not on Instagram. And think about those who are not using those technologies at all. You might want to use a QR code. Podcasts are a really great way to reach your parents, and YouTube. And when I say podcast, I know I love to listen to podcasts when I'm driving. That's something where you have my ears, I might not be able to look at it, but I can listen. So just thinking about different ways that you can get information to your parents. Having a help desk. This is crucial, especially during these times where, again, not just our traditional parents are minding our children, but maybe some older parents or adoptive parents or foster parents, people who are being thrown into situations they're not maybe all that prepared for. being able to call in and talk to someone takes the stress off and helps them to be able to know that they can help their child as best they can. So, with all that being said, how do you define family engagement? I'd love to hear from you. If you could use your camera phone right now and take a picture of this QR code scanner, I'd love for you to leave me a comment on my Padlet. Please tell me your demographic information and why family engagement is important at your school. And I know that it's going to be different for every building because every building is made up of unique families, schools, teachers, administrators, and community partners. Now, pipes. How can pipes help you? Well, we'll have discussions. We'll talk about how we can develop a plan for your next year, some activities that you can do and we can do to build family engagement in your school. I would love to meet with you, talk with you, and share any ideas and build on those ideas. If you want to reach me, my Facebook page is pipesprogram.com, Pipes Program. My email is pipesprogram@gmail.com. And I also have a website. The QR code for my Padlet is still on the screen, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Riddick. We do have, Dr. Gray's going to check the chat, but as we're going through these and sharing information, please remember that parents we're not going to always be learning remotely. That will be a part of our education. I think from now on, it's going to look differently. But when parents do get ready, when it's safe for them to return to your school, perhaps in small groups, as well as a lot of the things that we're sharing today can be still done virtually. So, keep that in mind that we can do these things virtually as well as in person when we do come back. Dr. Gray?
And that actually fits perfectly with the question that we did have for Ms. Riddick, and that was, do the cafes have to be in person or face-to-face? And so I didn't know if you wanted to make a comment on that. And as you had alluded to, I know with Dr. Doyle's address, you're going to be hearing a little bit about some of the ways we can do those things that are not face-to-face now.
Absolutely. No, they don't. Again, can be customized and tailored to what your school's needs are. And I think that depending on which one works best for your school clientele is the best way to go about it. You could do it either way, whether it be in school or on web with Zoom or Google Meet.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the question. Because it really does connect. And I love in some of the videos, I heard that piece that's so important of getting real solutions, which you had alluded to, as well as that remembering that we're doing engagement with parents, not to parents, which is such a great shift from many years ago when it started and we thought we had all the answers of what we needed to say to parents. So it was really nice to hear that perspective. Thank you both.
Great idea, Dr. Gray, also about we typically say parent involvement, and that's great to have parents involved, but we really want to keep them engaged in the work. And so thank you for sharing that. And, great shout out to Ms. Riddick, Mrs. Griffin, who are also on with us today about their work and getting started. So thanks again. Next, we're happy to bring to you Ms. Camisha Davis. Again, Ms. Davis is the principal of Greenwood Elementary School in sunny Newport News, Virginia. And her approach to engaging families is pretty awesome because you had approach about building relationships, particularly during this time of the pandemic and learning remotely, but you also used your engagement strategies for addressing your attendance issues, which is pretty fabulous. So welcome. We're happy to hear from you.
Thank you. All right, the famous, let me share my screen. All right, today I'm going to talk about engaging families during a pandemic. But before I do that, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I think Michelle Obama says it best by saying, for me, being a mother made me a better professional because coming home every night to my girls reminded me what I was working for. And being a professional made me a better mother because by by pursuing my dreams, I was modeling for my girls how to pursue their dreams. And my hashtag for everything most of the time is hashtag principal mom, because I've been a mom as long as my children have been alive. So they have no idea of what it would be not to have a mom as a principal. My children are absolutely extreme opposites, and I guess it's probably not a good thing in their eyes, but always a good thing in my eyes. As long as they have been in elementary school, they've always been in the same building with me. And the one on the left, she will turn 12 this weekend. And when she comes in, she is in a hurry trying to get to her class because she's got work to do here in the building. The one on the left will be 8 next week. I don't know how that happened. And when she comes in the building, she will speak to everybody else but me. And so that's just how extreme opposite their personalities are. However, I do what I do to make me a better professional and a better mommy for these 2 little girls. All right, so I am the principal at Greenwood Elementary School that is here in Newport News. We are a Title I school. We do have, we are a minority majority school. I do have 25% of our students that are English language learners. 5% of my students are students with disabilities. And I do want to note that we do have about 20% of our students that are military connected. And once upon a time, Greenwood was the school connected to Fort Eustis. So we still do have a high population. Because we are a Title I school, I do know that I have human resources that some non-Title I schools do not have. And I'm also very fortunate. This year we have a military family and life counselor to help and support with our military families. So just a little bit about my school. Over the summer, I did a lot of professional development and a lot of learning. But this is a picture of a teacher, my parents, and my children. And I realized that one of the things that I cannot do is just learn about it and talk about it. I am vowing and making a promise to my teachers, my students, and my families that I am going to be about it as we go into this year. During the summer, during one of the professional developments that I went to, and of course everything is virtual, and because of my girls, I would never leave them anyway, so now I get to learn all the time. I learned that there was a missing class in the late 50s, and I'm not going to have any of my children be part of a missing class. So therefore, I am going to be about it and do what I need to do. As Ms. Chavis said, family or parent engagement is very, very different. On the left, we're inviting parents into our building. And on the right, we're having to ask parents to invite us into their homes. So we've got to build relationships with families. I think Rita, I think she's my best friend. She says kids don't learn from people they don't like. Guess what? Parents don't care what people they don't like have to teach either. So we had to build relationships with our families as well as our students. So this is how our journey started. We had a back to school celebration at the beginning of the year. And I just have a video clip that I did a first time ever Facebook Live. And you can tell probably why I don't do them once you hear it. Oh my gosh, what the world? But you know what? In technology, I guess, because I was at home, nothing is blocked at my house for me. But basically for our back to school celebration, we invited all of our parents. We were not a one-to-one school. in the spring. So we needed to get devices in the hands of children. We needed to get school supplies or supplies in the hands of children. We did receive $10,000 worth of books from Reach Reads, which is a program that actually puts books in the hands of children over the winter break. They actually had a free bookstore, and students could go in, or families could go in, and children could just pick books. It's a wonderful organization. I can't do this by myself. I am not a Facebook Live type person, but I do have my assistant principal with me, and she is amazing and supporting. And then I am lucky enough this year that I have an intern, and she's a rock star. She's going to be an amazing administrator when it becomes time. But we had different stations set up. Parents came in, we signed them off, they got their laptop, they got their materials, instructional materials, as well as school supplies, books, pencils, crayons, whatever they needed that we had on the school supply list. They received all of that. We had people from the community. The Newport News Police Department supported our endeavor, and they had stickers and pencils and things for students. And then we had a station, a mental health organization from Newport News. They came, they volunteered, and we gave out Smart Pop, which was healthy. And then just some, how do you take care of yourself, things that you can do to help yourself as the adult, and then how can you help your child during the time. So then the child learned how to log into their computer. We had some teachers and some staff that were our cheer squad, and were cheering and yelling. And then parents walked out the door and everyone was happy. These are just a few of the pictures. One of the things, I cried the morning of our back to school celebration because I am a hugger, and I am all about building relationships with children and making sure they're okay. Yes, I do tell my children and my staff I love them. But this picture right here with the little girl with the backpack. So she came in, she's kindergartner, never been in public school before, super, super excited. Mom and dad in military uniform, and mom were literally shaking and scared. So of course I had to intervene. We went out into the school so she could see her school, her big girl school, took a picture. From that picture, I asked mom if it was okay if I could, I could take a picture and send it to her. She said yes. So I used my Google telephone number, sent her the text message with the picture on the first day of school. I was able to use that same thread and ask her how her first day of school was. And then I also try to follow up once a month. She's a kindergarten, mom was nervous, just to make sure she's okay. They were also new to the area. So that's one way that you build relationships with parents. And I will say that it's kind of hard building them in a remote environment because they can't see me, they can't see my smile, they can't see how much I love my children. But this is one way that I am able to do this in a virtual environment because I've got to make those connections. My teachers have to make those connections. So after we got everybody excited, got everybody having everything that they need. First day of school, we had our 100% student engagement task force. And on the first day of school, our task force included resource teachers, ELL teachers, everyone on my social and emotional learning team, my reading staff, myself and my assistant principal. What we did was we went into, forgot, here's what we did. Our purpose was to engage students in learning, to make sure that we focus on being preventative and having a supportive approach. We wanted to empower our families to support learning at home. And then we wanted to connect our parents to any outside resources that they possibly needed. One thing about empowering our families, yes, I've always felt that parent engagement was important. I wanted to get my parents engaged. But just like I showed the picture a little while ago with the family coming in and then us being invited, I different approach that I had to take was I would get upset if my teacher said, oh, Johnny is not doing well because Johnny's mom is not involved. And like, I would roll my eyes and get upset because I'm like, okay, but this is about Johnny, and we have Johnny from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We're going to do all we need to do, and mom is going to be like the sprinkles. Well, now it's different. I really do need Johnny's mom. So we had to make sure that we were empowering our families. So what we did, my support staff, each person was assigned to 2 classes. On the first day of school, they joined the Zoom meeting for the homeroom classes. They collected any names of students that were absent, and then they left the meeting. Like, I was like, I don't need you to go in introducing yourself, tell them anything about you. Like, I need you to like be as quiet as a mouse and not disrupt instruction, because our first day of live virtual instruction was the first time we were doing it in classroom. Teachers were already stressed enough. So that's support staff person went to our Google Sheet, put in the names, and then they started reaching out to the families. Every afternoon at the end of the day, we debrief, and then it was like Groundhog's Day. We did it over and over and over again. The first week of school, it did include our resource teachers. And by resource for me, that's art, music, PE, library. At the end of that week, of course, they were no longer part of our engagement team. But also at the end of the week, we were at 95% engagement. So the second week, it was just, how do we get that last 5%? So there were fewer people that were on the team, but we were still Groundhog Day. And then this really is your attendance team. So now, as opposed to meeting every afternoon, and I'm sure the team misses meeting with me, we meet once a week. We still are utilizing a Google Sheet, but teachers provide the names of students that they're concerned about not showing up, not coming back for maybe an afternoon session, not coming for interventions, or not submitting or doing their work. So now the team has kind of shifted a little bit, but the purpose of the team is still the same. Like I tell people, always lead with compassion. Like, this is hard. It's hard for parents, it's hard for students, it's hard for teachers. And the last thing we want to do is make a parent feel bad. Like, everybody's learning and we have to be here to help and support them. So we do continue. And from that team, still my engagement team, because it does include all of the members of my social emotional learning team, my school social workers, school psychologists, guidance counselors, and of course myself and my assistant principal and my family engagement specialist. From listening to parents and reaching out, we started doing Let's Talk About It events. So once a month, we have a Let's Talk About It event for parents. And what we do is we partnered with Anthem Health Keepers Plus, and they bought us like a whole lot of taco kits and refried beans. So what parents can do is, at first we were saying they could come the day before, but then the team was like, well, we want to make sure they come. So we give them the box for them to have for dinner the very next day. But during the Let's Talk About It event, we do breakout sessions, and I'm at every one because I do have a dual role. I am the principal and I introduce myself, but I think this quote is the driver every time I talk to parents, because an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal behavior. Guess what? We are in an abnormal situation. The pandemic and learning virtually is not normal. So if a child is behaving in a way that's not normal, that is okay. And I continue to tell that to my parents. And I always have like hot mess stories of my own personal life with my own children learning virtually, to just let them know that I'm in it with them. I understand. I do not have all the answers, but we're learning together. So during the session, we start whole group. I give my spiel of the latest hot mess that's going on in my house, but we do breakout sessions. And again, this is led by my social emotional learning team. And in the breakout sessions, the first session, these were the questions. So they asked, how is virtual learning going for your students? Because our return to learn plan is continuously evolving. We asked them, how are they feeling about it? We asked them, how are they managing stress? And then we asked them, what can we do to help and support them? From our Let's Talk About It sessions, my SEL team, we follow right back up the next week and we talk about what do they need? What do parents need? Are they okay? Who do we need to follow back up with? What teacher do we need to reach out to from maybe a comment or a statement that was made? What supports do we need to provide? And we always task them at the end with, when you come back, we want you to tell us, what are you doing for self-care? What are you doing to take care of yourself? And the first event, we had 7 parents. The second event, we had 30. And the third event, we had 50 parents that came on. And they're an open book. Like, they want to talk. They want to have connections. They want to know it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay not to be okay. So I have the absolute best staff. And one of the things that my parents said is they want, like, we need some books. We need books in our home. I have this wonderful program. It's called Books on Bikes. And it actually started in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I was at another school in Newport News and it started there. And then I was lucky enough to bring Books on Bikes to Greenwood, but the teachers go out. I do have people from the school, they go out, and it doesn't matter that it's in the middle of a pandemic, they go out on the trikes. I don't get to ride the trikes because I kind of wrecked one, but I do get to drive behind and be part of it. So I just want to show a video clip to let you know what, and if this one like doesn't show, I'm gonna like be super sad. Okay.
Books on Bikes Newport News helps students bundle up with books during the winter break. Educators from Greenwood and Yates Elementary Schools volunteered their time right before the holidays to hand out free books and gifts to excited students. The brisk winter weather kept the Greenwood elementary teachers from riding their iconic tricycles. Instead, they loaded up vehicles with brand new books, candy canes, hot chocolate mix, bookmarks, and toys to bring the joy of reading to several Greenwood neighborhoods. After a quick splash of hand sanitizer, kids were free to browse the containers full of picture and chapter books for every grade level. Children were welcome to take as many books as they were going to read, while educators were more than happy to make reading suggestions to help each child find the perfect book. After selecting their books and receiving a holiday goodie bag, students were able to choose a brand new toy provided by the NNPS Angel Tree Initiative. Meanwhile,
and this just talks about the rest of the video. Of course, this is going to be part of what is in the Padlet, but the rest of the video just talks about another Books on Bikes program that's here. We do it all during the summer, but we knew that we needed to continue it. Most of the time we only do it during the summer, but we continued because children still need books in their hands. No, we don't want these books back. And truly they are run off of donations. And this is a program that here at Greenwood, being a Title I school, we are able to support. Again, my teachers are awesome. From our Let's Talk About It, we were able to see sometimes parents are saying, I don't have. From my teachers doing their virtual lessons, they see that a child does not have crayons or children need paper. So like they don't just say, oh, well, and we tried like putting a bucket out with some stuff. They were like, no, that's not good enough. So we did our first Grateful Gators event in November, and it was just K2. For 2 hours, they were out, parents drove through, children were saying, I finally get to see my teacher in real life. They could care less if they had on a mask. I thought it was really interesting because now we're not just building relationships with the child that's in our classroom, we're building relationships with like the parent and their younger siblings and their older siblings. And the parents were really appreciative to be able to see the teachers in real life, and the teachers loved it. It was a little warmer in November, but they still came back out. Uh-oh, here we go. Sorry, I lose my cursor sometimes. They came right back out in December and we did it all over again. I have a wonderful PTA, and they provided goodie bags of hot cocoa and a candy cane for the students. But on this day, we actually had kindergarten first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. My security officer was freaking out because the line was going way down the road in front of the school. And I was like, it is what it is. I'm excited. The parents are excited. Everybody is safe. It's okay. So each grade level had a table. They were passing out bags, again, with books in them and any supplies that students saw that children didn't have. Then they got super, super good and they started thinking, what do we want to do for science or for social studies, and what materials can I put in the bag so that students will have those materials on. They don't have to go running around their house looking for them. So they are amazing. We did one in December. I told them it's too cold right now for January, so we'll see what the weather is like. But my teachers don't care. If a student doesn't show up, they go out and they show up and they deliver the items to their homes. So if they don't come pick them up, the teachers get in their cars and they go drop them off. So 100% of my children get the items that they need, whether they come through or the teacher is doing a drop and run. So they're amazing. We did have another event. We did a health and wellness event. So we did a virtual run. And then my PE teacher, my family engagement specialist, and again, Anthem, we did bags that had mental health items as well as physical health items. Physical, yeah, I guess that's right. So parents could come through again, just like Robin said, we use QR codes, so nobody really has to fill out a piece of paper to get feedback on getting their bags, what we can do. We also gave students pedometers. And we did it on a Wednesday because on Wednesdays we offer a library curbside checkout so students can come through. And then Monday through Friday, I work in a wonderful division and they have curbside meal pickup. So we try to do it on Wednesday. Curbside meal pickup is every day. And my cafeteria staff is awesome about making sure that my children have what they need.
Ms. Davis?
Yes?
We do have some questions, and I want to make sure we have time to address the questions.
Okay.
So if I could just ask you those.
Of course.
That would be great. And one of the big ones was, how did you connect with Anthem?
My family engagement specialist reached out to her. And she was looking for different people that would provide support. So she made the connection with Anthem. And I will say it's a continued connection because every let's talk about it or let's chat about it, even let's talk about it event we have, she is always right there as part of our SEL team and being part of the breakout sessions. So it was the reaching out of my family engagement specialist.
Wonderful, thank you. Another one is, how is your virtual attendance?
We currently have 95% average daily attendance, and I was just looking at the data, and we have and it's still about the same, 5% of our students that would be considered as having an attendance concern with
Wow,
missing
and
more
that's
than 10 minutes.
excellent in this virtual time, because I know a lot of us are dealing with numbers that are definitely higher than 5%. And I
thank you.
The last question is answered. It was, and someone from your staff answered it. Do you still have the group that meet weekly to sit in and check who's in the Zoom attendance?
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yes.
So yes, we don't actually go in the Zoom now. There is a Google form teachers fill out, and we take care of it that way. So they're no longer having to go into the Zoom meetings. But for the first 2 weeks, that's what we did.
Great. And the last two, if you wouldn't mind putting any information that you have for bikes, books on bikes in the chat, and then where you got the initial free book that you talked about.
I think I have the person who actually is my books on bikes coordinator on, and I will let her put that information in here.
Great. Thank you so much.
If she's not, yes, I will in just a second. No
Great.
problem at all.
Also,
but they are on Facebook. And so you can look it up that way. But if she doesn't get it on, then I will put it on it as soon as I finish.
Okay, Ms. Davis, you also mentioned about a Padlet, a strong echo. So I will ask if they could go on if they're not listening. But you also have the Padlet, and I want each of our participants to know, our participants to know, that the Padlet will be available to them. All the information that's presented today will be a part of that Padlet. And so you'll receive at the end of the webinar later today, everyone will receive a link to the Padlet where information is stored, and you have access to the presentations that are done today. And because of our limited time, we have 2 more presenters. So Mrs. Davis is gonna bring us to closure here. We want to share some information with everyone about some upcoming events that we have, and then we're going to move with our final 2 presenters so that we can make sure that we end on time. So thank you, Ms. Davis.
To unmute. All right, and here's my contact information. It will be on the slides, and I'll put it in here again if anyone has any questions.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what we want to do is, again, each presenter has a perspective that they're sharing with you about how they are engaging families. And Mrs. Davis, as she mentioned, started right out of the gate with building those relationships. And she shared things of, how they continue to build relationships and maximize those relationships. Dr. Gray, we have a couple leadership opportunities coming up that we want to do a quick commercial break as Mr. Patrick Doyle queues up for his presentation. In about 2 weeks, we will be starting our Lean In series, and this is a leadership series for principals. There's also one that we do for assistant principals. And we have a segment of the series that we do for aspiring leaders. Dr. Gray will put information in the links in the chat that you can access if you're interested in signing up. Feel free to do that. You can see the dates here as to when they begin. And we're looking forward to this second cohort. Our first cohort was very successful, and because of the feedback, we're now offering this second cohort. So again, check the website. The link is there. We'll be happy to have you join us in a couple of weeks. And then next week, we're excited about our next opportunity, which is going to be absolutely fabulous. And that is our virtual wellness summit. In this summit, you can see the presenters here. And if you've not received information, let us know. We'll be happy to get that to you as well. Dr. Gray will put the link to this series, this summit in the chat. This is for next week on Wednesday, February 3rd. It's our virtual wellness summit. And we've talked a lot about the impact this pandemic has had on us, physically, emotionally, mentally. So this is a time for us to come together. Our leaders, you can sponsor someone to attend this virtual summit. to then have strategies to come back to your building, to your department, or personally of how you can practice self-care, team building activities, as well as some time just to breathe a little bit. So we're excited about this summit that starts next week. Because we inconvenienced you all and we had to reschedule the parent engagement webinar, we're actually offering the summit at a discount price to everyone on the call today for $25. The special ends at noon. So if you're interested, here are 4 reasons why you should sign up for this summit. The last being that we've got an awesome swag box that every participant will receive. We'll be delivering those the weekend up until Monday. And so it'll be a fabulous opportunity, again, today only until noon for you. Because we had to inconvenience you and reschedule this webinar, we're going to offer the summit for $25. So rush in, sign up. We're looking forward to having you. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an absolute blast and such a time to relax. So now we're going to move forward, and Mr. Patrick Doyle, who is principal of Blair Middle School, he's queued up and ready, and he also will be sharing some fabulous ideas of what he's doing to keep his families engaged. Secondary particularly is so, so important. So Patrick?
Here we go. All right, I appreciate it. Welcome. Yeah. So as Ms. Chavis said, Dr. Patrick Doyle, principal at Blair Middle School in Norfolk, Virginia, and family engagement has been intertwined throughout everything we've done. And I'm so happy to talk about the work at Blair today, and to show what we've done to connect to families. So our demographics, we are an urban school right in downtown Norfolk. We have about 1,200 students. Approximately 70% qualify for free and reduced price lunch. 16% qualify for special education. We are predominantly African American. I put a specialty program in there because we also have a specialty program. So kids that are interested in pre-med, health, and engineering come to this building. We have a huge wealth gap. We have some of the richest families and some of the families that come from some of the poorest areas. And that kind of moves to our gap groups, which we see as an opportunity for growth. And just the last time we took SOLs, for example, our white students in overall English proficiency was 90% and Black was 60. So we knew we had some opportunities to build relationships and to push our staff to meet the needs of our kids. So I just want to start off by giving a quick history, what we did prior to the pandemic, because I do feel that what we did set us up to be successful. So school year started last year. We had every focus, or all of our intentional efforts were on our students. We focused on that meaningful and relevant pedagogy. We partnered with Jakari Taylor to come in and show us what does it mean to meet the needs of our students. Because again, the gap groups, the discrepancies in data was huge. I've always believed in communication, and you're going to kind of see how my role as a principal, my communication has changed throughout this pandemic. I started off with I've always done a weekly internal newsletter ever since I become a principal. So every Sunday, my teachers will get an internal newsletter, and then I always done a monthly newsletter to the community. And we did community nights. So those were stuff we did pre-pandemic. Stuff that was well received. The community nights were well attended, but we found some things, and I'll get to that in a minute. And here's just a couple samples of what the newsletters look like. They weren't interactive. It was just a one-way communication tool, but it did keep our parents informed, and it did always highlight what our students were doing. Our focus. We had our instructional focus. Again, you can see we were talking about our kids. Our saying last year was literacy and relationships equals success. So how did we work to make that happen? And how did that also transform over time? So the pandemic comes. We were investing in relationships, which provided us an easier transition when the schools closed. We had to take a step back as well, because what we learned is that our teachers flooded the system. We overwhelmed our parents with communication and resources. And that comes from a good place. Our parents were sent, the division was sending out packets, then the communication from teachers, some were doing Google Classroom. So we had all of this information overload to our parents, which caused a great deal of stress during the closure. So we kind of looked at that and how can we refine it? And here's some of the activities that we did for the school closure. So each Monday, so when the school year closed in March, every single Monday we met. It was a voluntary meeting with our teachers. I have about 125 staff. I can tell you that any one of these Mondays that were optional, we would have between 90 and 110 people at the meetings just to kind of share successes, figure out plans to talk to our students. One of the things that came about this was the motivational quotes, and I'm going to show all of these things to you later once I pull off the PowerPoint, because I want to show you what these examples look like. We continued to make the students our focus. I didn't know what to do, but I've always led by being out front of the situation and listening to folks. So I tried to shift my PD to supporting teachers, to providing teachers time to actually teach, right? So I try to go and try to support the families, to be out front. What can I do for our families during these closures? So we had community chats. I went to Cold Press Coffee right around the block from Norfolk and sat in there. They've been one of our great, I'll call them a sponsor. They come and they would provide our teachers with coffee throughout the school year, and they'd walk around the building and give it to them for free. So we wanted to give back to our community partners. So my assistant principal and I went in there, we did a community forum, and every few seconds I'd stop and say, this break is brought to you by, and we had some humor. I had forums in my house. I would walk around, I have a lot of animals. I have 4 cats, I have fish, I have a bearded dragon, I have a dog. And these were things that whenever, we didn't know when we were coming back. But when we came back, we wanted to make sure that our kids knew who I was and who our teachers were. I had a forum during dinner. I wanted to see them. I ate on camera, right? To make sure that my teachers knew that you're not going to tell a child not to eat at their home. So I modeled those expectations, not just for my staff or for my families, but for my staff as well. We did one pagers and videos for our families and what that looked like. The cookbook was amazing. And I'm going to show you that because it allowed us to, again, forge those relationships and know who our teachers were. So some of the things that we learned, right? What did we learn from all of those? One, how do I make my teachers feel comfortable? But we realized that the roles are flipped. Teachers were now the ones anxious in this relationship. Students were comfortable with technology. They were comfortable with what was happening. They're in their house. And so we had to figure out a way to make the teachers comfortable to support our families. And we also made sure that teachers knew it was okay to, one, not be okay, but also to ask students for help. What a great way to make that relationship two-way by saying, hey, does someone know how to do this, or can we help? We also learned a great deal about our parents. I went too quick. They now have a front row seat. We know that parents are the expert on their child. And there was no smaller classroom than a family living room, and no better way to personalize instruction than through the parent. So staff members, they're the expert on the instruction. So you can see that we have this complementary skill set and a common purpose. So how as a leader do I meld those things? How do we put those things together? So we talked about redefining relationships. We talked about how do we make family community assignments rather than just giving assignments, because we're not doing homework. One of the things we tried to re-envision. So that led us to this year's moving forward. Failing forward is what we kind of are saying throughout the school year as the internal stakeholders. But you can see right there, making connections through communication and parent involvement. We actually have parents on our leadership team, and they've attended our meetings, and they provided feedback, not only in our instructional focus, but defining what family engagement looks like. I've always said we've had parent engagement whenever my executive directors say, hey, can you send me this report on your leadership meetings? And I'll get that parent that we know to sign off, hey, you were in these meetings, right? But now I actually have parents, and it's great. And it helps us understand what the community needs are. And then you can see here, they helped us define what education is, or what the family engagement means. So those parents provided the feedback that we needed to start off our school year. So we also had to make sure through all the things to set expectations for teachers. And I just highlighted some of these, and you will get these, so I don't have to go through all of them, but we wanted to make sure that teachers knew what are my expectations, right? Keep your instructional time to 25 minutes. Making sure that you're thinking across the curriculum, so if you can combine an opportunity with a history and English teacher, do it so the kids don't have to be online as much, because we know that the FaceTime is really important with our parents. And consult with our students, ask them what they want to do. And then just the communication aspect, again, we had to streamline our communication so that parents don't get overloaded. We always ask for those the sheets to get kids or get parent information, but we didn't want to do that 8 different times. So we actually had a global information system where our Block 5, 6 teachers asked all of the parents for the information, and then we shared that as a staff, rather than getting that information and doing it over and over again as a parent. And as you can see, fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. Success and failure, we view them all the same, and they need to be looked at in a different way to support growth. And I put an X over that success and failure going in different ways, because they have to work in unison for our kids to grow, for our staff to grow, and for myself to grow. And we've used this video over and over again, the Will Smith, it's tremendous, and it's on this PowerPoint for you. I'm not going to play it right now, but he talks about how you have to fail in order to be successful. And here's really where I get excited. So if I talk too fast, there is a slow down button at the bottom of the presentation. But I have such, I love what we've done this year. We've continued the community forums. We started to plan, so I'm teaching with my teachers now on select Fridays. Not as much as I'd like to. We've been given some other tasks, but I did this for consecutive Fridays, and it was awesome. I modeled the use of technology through community homework assignments and mini PD sessions. Our social media presence is great. We've been out there. You can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Miss Ravel, she's here today. She created a social emotional learning warm-ups for every one of our teachers. So every class, every day, we focus on that, on social emotional learning, because we didn't want kids to feel stressed out. Oh, my internet's not working, so I'm going to be 2 minutes late. So now what am I going to miss? There's no point in starting with just an SOL warm-up. Those days are gone. So what a great opportunity to rethink education. You see the wine with the principal. That was only for staff, but I was feeling some stress. So we did a wine evening with staff where we just whined for a little bit. It was just an opportunity just to kind of complain and what are we going to do? I do lunch with the principal every single week with my staff. And then we've also done community drive-through family nights. Those were incredible. We did our first one in October, and it was just weird to see kids yelling out, "Hey, that's my teacher." And you stop and you think, you're like, wait, this is the first time they're meeting their teacher face to face. So we learned about all of those different emotions, the excitement, the worry, the relief, stress, happiness, disappointment, frustration, and compassion. And we looked at our lens to rethink all of those emotions to meet the needs of our kids. I've always made myself visible. I pride myself on walking and being visible. I usually walk about 16,000 steps in my building, and now I haven't, which is probably why I'm over 200 pounds for the first time in my life, which is not a good thing. But I just have to reassess some things. And we looked at telling our story. We looked at being out in front of everything we did. And then on this next slide, when I told you how we taught, there we go. You can look at these, and this is one of the, I caught this when I was teaching with Miss Reed, one of my terrific math teachers, 6th grade. The very bottom one, you can see with Colton. So this was just an exit ticket. Let me set the tone here. This was an exit ticket where kids could click on one of the radio buttons ahead. I am confident, I can subtract, I still need to do practice, I don't know. So as the students answered, you see them, but you can see Colton, I don't know, complete the sentence frame. It is difficult for me because my sister's class is so loud. I was just drawn back by that, right? But because I taught this class, I captured the feedback and use it as a teachable moment with my staff. How often is that feedback overlooked? So we provided the family with cardboard dividers. We gave them desks and earphones to support this family. And I got to admit, I missed it at first too, right? So it taught us to take a step back and to really look at what our students are telling you, because they are telling us exactly what needs to happen. It's just, this is something that we often would overlook. So here's the fun part, right? So I have all of these hyperlinks. So when you get this PowerPoint, you'll be able to see them. But because we're on, so I don't have to keep opening and closing everything. What I'm going to do is share all of these. And I want to go through some of them. One of the activities that we had done is had the teachers send me quotes. I'm going to share just a couple of them. And we share these items with our staff. And you can see. And you have access to all of these. You don't need to hear the music right now, but there's some nice music. But it made our staff remember what's important. It made our staff reflect on what we're doing. Here's the cookbook, which I absolutely was just amazed. Teachers sent me recipes, right? And this is when we shut down school, and Mr. Smith gave us a recipe for Happy Home. But look at, kids can cook peanut butter cookies. This is my dad's recipe, right? So now you see that. You see what the assistant principals have. And how cool, you just, parents were taking pictures and sending them to us. But it's a way to connect, and we left it up there. So as we started the new school year, guess what? They had all of these things ready. And I know I know what time, so I'm gonna kind of go through these quickly. But here you have me modeling the professional development. I created a video through Zoom where I talk about the great things I have seen. This is a Padlet we shared with the community, right? The community said all these wonderful things about our teachers. And then I shared it with them because we needed to make our teachers feel welcome, make them feel comfortable as well. If you don't have SMORE, you need to get SMORE. Look at one thing it tells you to do. It tells you how many people view this. So what, 778 people have viewed this newsletter. It's amazing. And here's one of the homework assignments that I gave to our community. They were able to interact with our newsletters now, which I love. And with that, I made a link to Flipgrid. They just we could create a video thanking the Blair staff. And from that, you can see all the videos that were sent here. We had several videos, and this is just a Flipgrid, the back side of Flipgrid. So hopefully you've been here. If not, you'll get all of these pieces. But we had, I think, 70 people go through, and that created this.
Hello, Blair staff. This is Derek White. I wanted to wish you guys well for the remaining year.
See, and we have it. That's going to fast forward.
This is Robbie Jordan with the school board. I just want to thank Principal Doyle and the leadership team and all.
So as you can see, I got community partners in there.
For everything that you do to make sure students succeed, I say thank you. I'm Sharice Newsom, president of the North.
I just want to share one student piece.
I know we may not tell you guys this enough, but thank you for all the work you've done. Even though we don't say it, we mean it. It's just that things get hard sometimes.
Not that I want to cut him off, but I want to make sure we have time for everything today. We did Blair's Best. Again, this was a community piece where just a Google form, and parents nominated teachers, the students nominated them, and then we used their little emojis, right? And I made videos out of all of this. And, so you get to see the views, you get to see what's happening. And there's some other stuff here. I'm gonna try to get to our holiday album. This was, I don't know if it was well received or not.
Because the reindeer cannot climb the hills of Italy. Hey, jiggity jing.
So all the administrators we sang songs and made a community album, Christmas album, which was pretty funny. And the parents loved it. It was very, again, one of those things that we can see. I got one more slide here, and this is just our pictures again to show some of the evidence. The Fortnite piece, incredible, right? I actually stole a Lamborghini with the kid and crashed it. I learned that I'm cracked is a good thing. I learned yeet because video games do help set trends. And these kids are gonna remember that stuff. They're gonna remember their principal playing Fortnite with them. And then just some of the dinner with the principal stuff. We also just last week, we had Bernie Sanders show up. We had to make sure we were trending. As you can see, Bernie was at the community at the Project Lit. He was doing 14.2 and at one of our community parades. But those views, folks, we're getting 700 hits. And here's the proof. You look at some of our engagements, anxious about the start of school, 3.6 thousand views. People wanted to know what we want, so that's where we made sure. And I made sure I kept the dates from September. You can see up 714% the families wanted to hear from us. This is the evidence. This is what we use to make sure I talk to my teachers. Okay, and I'll go through there. And then our families care, and so do we. We're working every day to make a difference and build sustainable relationships. So if you need help with any of setting up these things or how they go out, I will gladly share any of these Google Forms. Everything is done through technology, and I appreciate the time.
Wow, what incredible information. And I have to say, after listening to Dr. Doyle and Miss Davis, I miss my principal days because you guys are just knocking it out of the park. And Patrick I love supporting the local businesses, having, the students speak to teachers really almost brings you to tears, and the parents, just so many good ideas that we know that everyone on the call today has picked up at least a few things from our principal perspective, and then as well as from Pipes. And now, which kind of really brings us full circle. And we do know that because we had so many great sharing opportunities, that we are running a bit behind, and we certainly respect your time. And we know what days are like, just packed. So please know we are recording, but we do have an amazing finishing show for you that really talks about how this even starts way back at the preschool level. So we've heard elementary, we've heard Patrick talking in that middle school, and now we really have the opportunity to hear Tonya talk to us about how that begins in preschool and how we pull those parents and build those relationships. So we are excited to have her presentation next. Again, we encourage you to stay if you are able to, but we do certainly know people's time and respect that. But Tonya has a wonderful perspective and a real glimpse from another one of our divisions that we haven't heard from yet this morning. And so that's a nice connection as well. So at this time, we're excited to present her to you. So thank you so much. And now we bring on Miss Evans.
Thank you, Tonya, for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to share how we engage and connect with our families. I'm Tonya Evans, and I am a pre-K family engagement specialist with Virginia Beach City Public Schools. Of course, this work cannot be done without an awesome team. Our director of Title I in pre-K is Laura Silverman. Our coordinator of Title I is S. Cooper. I am one of two family engagement specialists. Our other family engagement specialist is Brittany Peoples. We have one instructional specialist, and we have 4 pre-K resource teachers. We serve Virginia Beach families who meet risk factors under the Virginia Preschool Initiative grant. Children must be 4 years old on or before September 30th. We have 853 students in our pre-K program. We have pre-K at 27 schools, and we have 48 classrooms. We build meaningful relationships with our families. We connect them with community resources, and we engage our families in how to reinforce learning at home. Some of the events that you see highlighted here are the events that we have yearly. Our family focus events are themed. So we have healthy families, literacy, and community resources events. Our family orientation is the first formal introduction we have to our families. And what we find most interesting is that when we have our orientation sessions, one of the first questions we ask our parents is, who is your child's first teacher? It's an awesome question, but our families don't know that they are their child's first teacher. And so once we have them realize that they are their child's first teacher, we then begin to share with them ways that we want to connect with them and engage them in keeping that educational momentum that they've already started. One of the things that we give our families are our pre-K handbooks. Our students always leave our programs with 2 books. The books we give away at our orientation is The Night Before Pre-K and Daniel Goes to School. Our families are also allowed an opportunity to take a tour on our school bus. One of the things we've learned is that our families should always leave with something in their head and something in their heart. Home visits are a way that we connect parents to community resources such as housing, food banks, clothes closets, and medical resources. And we do this through our Pocket Pal. Pocket Pal is a list of resources that have been vetted through Virginia Beach City Public Schools. And we share this information with families so that they will be aware of what resources are available within their city. We also discuss goals for students and parents, and most parents want their children to be successful, and they themselves want to be successful. Our community partnerships are essential in meeting the needs of our families at our family focus events. We have partners who provide information on health, wellness, and literacy. Now, we also have English language learning families, and we have formed a partnership with the Adult Learning Center, which provides English classes for our families. And in doing our home visits, we often find that families want to go to college, some want to return to college. And so we have connected with the Virginia Tidewater Consortium for Higher Education. The pictures you see here are pictures of our Healthy Family Focus event. And so some of our partners are CHKD, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and Grow Smart and Lena Start. Our Discovery Night events are opportunities for our resource teachers and our teachers to support families with reinforcing learning at home using household items. The pictures you see here are pictures of a literacy activity, a numeracy activity, and a gross motor skill activity. We also have in the back of one of those pictures a table where we are doing fine motor skills as well as rhyming. So every event that we have, our families leave with educational manipulatives that they can take home and share with their families. This is an opportunity for our team to share with families how they can engage and teach their children at home.
I'm good. What you need?
Our pre-K classroom in action is an event that we started my first year as a family engagement specialist. And we started this event because we often heard from parents who would say things like, I don't think my child is learning anything because my child is coming home every day telling me that they played all day. And so we told them, yes, your child is playing all day, but they are learning through social interactions and play. And so with Classroom in Action, families are invited to the classroom and they engage in student learning by rotating through various learning stations. What I find exciting and fun is when I debrief with families, we not only give them a bag of educational manipulatives at this event as well, but we also ask families to give us aha moments. And some of those aha moments are things like, I didn't know my child could transition from one event to another, or I didn't know my child could go to the restroom by himself or herself. And so it's always interesting and exciting to hear how pleased they are with their child's independence. And then in turn, families can then go home and allow their children to be independent at home, just like they are in school. So it's an aha moment for families, and I love hearing those stories. I wanted to share this picture with you because this is one of our community partners. This is the Noblemen who, they have this holiday event with our pre-K students every year. The picture on the left is our Noblemen event from 2019. As you can see, it's indoors. Our picture on the right is our event from December 2020. And as you can see, this one is outdoors. It was a drive-by event. And I wanted to share this picture because it just lets you know with everything that we've had to deal with since March, since COVID, one thing that has remained a constant has been our partnerships. And we are so appreciative of this. Every year, this partner gives toys to all of our pre-K students and their siblings. So I just wanted to share that picture because that speaks volumes to what our partners are doing for us in our pre-K program. Another thing that we do is our kindergarten readiness event. And the areas of readiness that we share with our families are literacy, math, social emotional, gross motor and fine motor skills, as well as oral language skills. So this is something that we share with them that will help them prepare their child for kindergarten. So since COVID started, our pre-K process for screening families has changed. During the summer, our pre-K application process was an online application. We were able to screen our families virtually using Google Calendar and Zoom. What was most interesting was an app that we started using called Sign Up Genius. Because families can't go into school buildings any longer just to walk in, they have to have an appointment. We used Sign Up Genius as a way to schedule families. They were able to go in and sign up for days and times to come in for registration. And then our team met each family at the school during that registration process. And this was a way that we supported our school registers. And as a result, we were able to enroll all 853 of our students this school year. So how have we kept families engaged during COVID-19? From the superintendent to our pre-K family engagement specialist to our teachers. Our superintendent sends out weekly emails to our families regarding school board updates, health metrics tracking, our fall 2020 plan, the continuity of learning plan, teacher options, and food service schedules and updates. How have our teachers remained connected? I love this picture because it kind of looks like what teachers are having to do during COVID and virtual teaching. Our teachers are constantly communicating with our parents through Seesaw, and they also use Seesaw as an instructional tool. One thing I found exciting is some of the family projects that our teachers are encouraging. They've encouraged our families to make cup phones together with their children, and they're allowed to talk to one another from different rooms in the home. They have been engaged in counting items in the home, such as chairs, tables, lamps, and things like that. Our families are also taking turns drawing letters and numbers on the backs of their children, and then they reverse it, and the children write letters and numbers on the backs of their parents. And they have to guess what that number or that letter is. Teachers have engaged families in movement and dance, and also science projects. I sat in on a meeting this week with our resource teachers and a team of teachers, and I was very pleased to hear that our teachers feel like families are feeling a part of the community, families feel connected, and they have immediate feedback from teachers because the parents are there with their pre-K students while they're on Zoom lessons. Our teachers also maintain virtual conferences, phone calls, emails, text messages, and providing student materials through drive-by events. The pictures here are pictures of different events that I've held over the years. At the bottom left is a picture of a dinner and a book event that I hosted using the book, The Creative Family Manifesto. And families were asked to, I started out by asking the families, are you creative? And most of them said no. Well, through reading this book, parents were able to pull out the creativity in themselves so that they can then find creativity in their own children. The middle picture at the bottom with the family is a picture of a literacy program we hosted at one of the elementary schools. And parents were engaged in learning how to read with their children and the importance of reading with their children every day. And the other pictures are pictures of other family engagement events such as Classroom in Action. Are there any questions?
Great job, Tonya. Great information. I love the sign up genius. Some other things that you mentioned, and just the teachers with having to juggle so many things. We do have some of our participants that are still here, that have signed on, are staying with us. So I'm going to ask if each of our presenters would come off, if you turn your camera on, and we'll see if there are any other questions from our attendees that perhaps they still want answered. Some of them had to leave for meetings, and we appreciate and respect that. But just before we sign off, we've got 1 minute. We want to engage if there are any other questions, and then to thank our presenters for signing on. Any questions? You know, again, Dr. Gray, what I appreciate is everything that was shared today can be done virtually as well as in person. It's just a matter of how we look at the work. I also love the fact that that common theme was about, and so really great ideas. And we thank everyone for joining us. And as we bring this thing home, Dr. Gray, any final comments?
I would just absolutely agree. I think everyone had that common theme of the support, the community, giving yourself grace during these times. And really, I think we all were able to walk away with at least 3 new nuggets that I think are really going to make a difference for teachers and leaders already tomorrow with things that you can do. I love that they were all very practical, some great connections with partnerships. It gives me an idea for my neighborhood of just strapping some books on the back of my little bike when it warms up and riding around. So I loved it. Thank you again to everyone who came out today, especially to our presenters. You guys were wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Yes. Again, thank you all for staying with us. Information, the link to the Padlet with all the presentations and other resources will be made available to you later today. So look for that link. And also we provide information on our upcoming events. Thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of this week. And we're going to ask our presenters if they're hanging with us for a few minutes. Thanks again. We enjoyed having all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.